London's had its fair share of fictional murderers on the loose, but I don't think any of them could hold a candle to Joe Goldberg. So imagine my surprise when I found out he was done murdering in season 4. So what exactly made him turn over a new leaf?
This is the last time. It's you or nothing.
Well, I've got the answer, and it all starts with a new murder. I know, that sounds totally incriminating for Joe, but trust me, this time, it apparently wasn't him doing the deed. And mind you, this is where I may drop some spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show yet, don't blame me. Now, in Season 4's Part 1, Joe is finally living the life he's always dreamed of. He's teaching American literature.
Turns out teaching's fun and London's not so bad.
And is friends with a like-minded guy, a professor like him. Well, up until he's murdered anyway. And Joe is found at the crime scene. But guys, it wasn't him. For the first time in forever, Joe is being framed, which gives him a pretty big reason not to murder anyone. Because this time, it's not a new girl or even his son keeping him away from becoming the Zodiac killer.
Thankfully, I knew good people to watch over Henry. I had to leave him behind. For now.
Instead, this time, his motivation is to clear his own name. And that's a pretty big deal because this dude always murders with a motive. But this time, he has no reason to kill. This is very unlike the past seasons, in which he always had a personal motive behind each murder. Like he killed Benji because he was an obstacle to him, and Beck.
This is about her.
Benji has to go.
Peach? Because she'd started snooping around his past.
She's dead. Of course she's dead. She fell. That's right.
Jasper? Because, well, he had to steal his identity. And Ryan, because he was a threat to Marianne. You see the pattern here, right? He may seem like a loose cannon considering his body count, but Joe's actually got a lot of control over his actions. Remember Gil? Joe never had any direct beef with a guy, and killing him wouldn't have served any purpose either. So what did he do? Tortured him enough that he killed himself. This proves that Joe's helpless murderer act is just that, an act, giving us another reason why he's done murdering this season. It's because he simply doesn't have any reason to do it. He's just here to teach Hamlet to young minds and get Marianne to finally get with him. And a murder is only going to slow him down, which is something he hates. We all know that.
You're a murderer, Joe.
You're wrong about me.
Even Sarah Gamble, the show's writer, has the same comments, especially about his transformed personality, saying that Joe is finally in a position that fits his level of intellect. He's surrounded by books that have been his friends long before Beck, Love, or even Candace came into his life. So even if his life is falling apart and he's being framed for murder while being stalked, he doesn't want to ruin his new life. It's not like Season 2, where his apparent love for, well, love made him kill everyone who stood in the way. Or Season 3, where he was killing people out of boredom and because he just wanted out of whatever his life had become. But now that he's in London and has his own agency and a way to prove that he's got a lot more knowledge of books than just murders and how to cover them up, we got a pretty big reason why Joe's steering clear of a life of crime. But then again, Marianne makes a strong case too. He's in love with her, guys.
But my heart is in the right place. Love couldn't understand me.
How can he start killing people now that he's found one true soulmate? Nah, we all know that's a front, but that still doesn't take away the fact that she is part of the reason why he's lying low. She's the reason why he made his transatlantic move, after all. So he's obviously not going to kill anyone before he finds her, unless there's a guy she's dating who can be a threat to their happily ever after, you know? Guy's got to protect his own interests, after all. Plus, this time, he isn't alone. His stalker is on his tail, too.
One of you sent me those texts. Hello, Joe.
And because he doesn't know who it is, he's got to stay extra careful so that he doesn't get caught. After all, Joe hasn't been sent any threatening messages or cutouts of news about his past victims before, has he? So now that he's got a Joe Goldberg of his own monitoring his every step, he can't help but be extra careful before making a murderous move on anyone, especially his friends, or actually Malcolm's friends, one of whom's the one killing everyone and trying very hard to frame Joe.
You think one of my friends is the killer? Stop playing shitty, Sherlock.
Because in the past, all the people he used to kill were those he frequently hung out with. But now that one of those people is a deranged psychopath, just like him, he's out of his element.
I fell in with the most insane, damaged people on Earth. A circle of privileged douchebags.
And if there's another thing we all know about Joe's killing rampage, it's that he only does it when he's totally in control. Hello, glass basement. Goodbye chances of being caught by the police. Oh, and speaking of the police, there's also Joe's fear of the authorities that's stopping him from becoming a stone-cold murderer. Because in a few scenes, while watching him interact with the elite London group, I really thought he was done holding his pretense.
So I'm off the hook, but not quite off the hook.
Can I call you if I think of anything?
But this new and improved Joe is smarter, because now he knows his actions have consequences. And so the idea of spending his life in prison, that too in the UK, isn't something he wants to experience. It's like a light bulb went off in his head when he settled in London and received his first blackmail note. And he's finally understanding that he can't just go around killing people. So instead of risking everything in his life at this point, including Marianne, his new job, and the entire life he's built in the UK, he's decided to lie low. Well, that's a glow up we never saw coming, which is why it sucks that just when he's decided to turn his life around, he's being I know what you did last summered by a stalker. So I want to know, will Joe go back to killing again?
Police are continuing to investigate a second murder among the elite.
Because we all know he can't stop himself when the opportunity presents itself. And to be honest, there's a lot he has to lose. So while he can lie low to protect his new life, he can also very easily murder anyone who threatens to ruin it for him. So what's it going to be? Will he or won't he? Or will he pull a Love Quinn and turn the tables on his stalker, framing them for all his past and current murders instead? Or, and this may sound crazy, is he framing himself by posing as his own stalker and murdering people as he does without fearing the consequences? You gotta admit, all these possibilities, as insane as they sound, are pretty interesting to consider and can easily come true thanks to the show's chaotic nature. So I'll ask again, what's it gonna be? And if Joe's really innocent, who's it gonna be? The murderer, I mean, from this bunch of new snobby friends.
Meanwhile, you are keeping me riveted. Who are you? And how do I stop you?
Is it Kate, Malcolm's girlfriend, who may have killed him for personal reasons and wants to frame the newcomer? Or Lady Phoebe, a socialite whose relationship really reminds me of the Conrads from the previous season? Or maybe it's Reese Montrose, a writer whose story Joe finds super interesting, considering how similar it is to his.
Good book.
The book is about how he was born into poverty, raised by an unstable single mom.
Or Nadia, Roald, Simon, or even Sophie. Whoever it is, I'm sure that all these new characters are definitely going to spice things up this season, especially now that Joe's the one being chased, instead of being the one chasing his next target, or even a love interest in the busy streets of London.
Oi! Where did you go?
Why does the universe keep doing this to me?
What's your theory about this whole thing? Drop your comments below, and maybe we can talk about them in my review video next.